Hello, my name is Damita Chatman, and I'm with Citizens for Excellence and Elected Leaders. Uh, I have Representative Debra Bazemore here uh, doing an up-close interview. And so right now, I'm going to say this, the news is already out. Georgia lost a great man today, Congress David Scott. And so we're going to do a moment of silence for him before we go into our up close election, up close interview. And then we'll have maybe the pastor come in and say a prayer right before we close out with Representative Debra Bazemore. Thank you. Uh, Thank you, Representative Debra Bazemore, for taking my call.
Always.
Thank you. Today, we're going to talk about, because this is an election and she's on the ballot, so we're going to give her a minute to tell us about herself, and then we're going to go into the questions.
Thank you so much, Ms. Chapman. You have always been excellent in creating and sponsoring and allowing us to share who we are in the community at whatever level we are. So I really appreciate your friendship and your loyalty and honesty. That counts. So, and with that being said, I just want to say thank you to everyone that has allowed me to serve you, almost 58,000 of you down at the Georgia General Assembly in the House of Representatives for 10 years. I realize this is an assignment from the Lord. This is not something that I aspired to do. The Lord led me into different levels, and I was encouraged by people along the way for about 6 years that I needed to run. And it was not until I heard the Lord say, when you were back in New York doing what you did, I was preparing for this. And then I got into the race. And I hope that my constituents have seen and they know that I have been working hard for them. It does not matter that we run up against brick walls down at the Georgia General Assembly, because I build relationships, and you have to understand the processes. You have to understand the people. So those relationships will stay intact. However, I understand that they get their orders and we get our orders. And we will do exactly what we can do. And what we can't, we will then take it to the street, take it to the community, and we will voice those issues and make sure they are on the forefront of everybody's mind and do as much as we can do. Many of you may know that I have been working with, and I know a lot of people cringe when I say this. However, you have to understand, I've been working with the First Lady on human trafficking since they came into office, and she made the statement on the floor of the House that this is what she wants to do. And that's because my district sat right next to the busiest airport in the world, over 30 hotels there. That was a prime breeding ground for that industry. And so, yes, I got on board. I recently had a piece of legislation to address the hotels. They need training. Everybody from the person that cleans the floors and cleans the house, your room, to the owner. And unfortunately, one of my colleagues in the Senate saw that that bill was extraordinary and he decided to steal it. Mm. However, God is still good, because one of my colleagues on his party said, you will put Representative Bazemore verbiage into that bill. And so the bill has passed, and we're waiting. If the governor has not signed it, he's about to. The other thing is literacy. I introduced a bill. This is the third year, I believe, and it is still over in the Senate. Well, it's dead now, but I'm gonna pick it back up. For second to fifth graders to be able to write their own book, get that book illustrated, and then have it published. So I'm proud to say that my granddaughter, Debra Bazemore, illustrated one of the books. The 11-year-old that wrote the book, and the book is on Amazon. Every time you buy that book, a different kind of hero. She's not living now. She gets the profits, the proceeds.
Okay.
So we are all not only helping with literacy, but entrepreneurs we're building with that book. And so, of course, fighting the ones that we have been fighting for years, affordable housing, Medicaid expansion, affordable wages, all of those also were things that I fought for and continue.
Okay. Well, thank you. I think you almost preached some, you probably gonna need some more. Thank you, Representative Bazemore. You're still the representative. Until January. So I'm going to respect you and call you Representative Bazemore. I just want people, because you know sometimes social media can play games, but I'm fair. I like what you said, but I'm going to correct you because I heard someone say this about a month ago. I made a call and they said that they were loyal to the person. And I said, how could you be loyal to the people, to the person, but not loyal to the people? And they told me that they were loyal to that person. I respect you saying that I'm loyal, but you know, I got, when you're wrong, you're wrong. You know, I call you early in the morning. I said, Representative, I ain't like that. I ain't like that. And so I want to say thank you, because no matter what, we disagree on things, we can disagree, but we still remain the respect.
That's right.
And so I want to thank you for that.
Well, then let me speak to that, because it's not loyalty, but understanding. That's where I was coming from. I understand the other party, because their people have to tell them what to do, and our party has to tell us what to do. But we will fight for what's right for our position.
That's right. I just interviewed the person that's running along with you. Your interview would be a little different because you're under the gold dome. How many members is in the House?
160.
Okay, 160.
I'm sorry, what's your name?
180, okay. I was going to correct you, right?
Yeah.
What is the terms?
Our terms, we have 2-year terms.
Okay. What are some of your responsibilities as a representative?
So first and foremost, our responsibility as Democrats is to make sure that we help the caucus get to the number, which is 91, to become the majority and not the minority. And that's what we are right now.
How many you got right now?
We have 81, I believe it is.
Okay.
We have some leave, we have some leaving, so it fluctuates.
You ain't got to say it, but I'm gonna say it. You had some to do some stuff that wasn't right, and know it wasn't right, and when you get caught with your hand in the cookie jar, you got to pay the time and do what you have to do. And unfortunately, some of them folks lost seats because they greedy. I said it, you didn't say keep talking.
And so what happens, I think one thing that we can learn is that once we get in the majority, then whoever wants to run against anybody, that's fine, because we're in the minority. But when we're in the minority, what happens is when we have people, like we have 15 people leaving, about 15 people leaving the Democratic caucus right now in the House. And what happens is we have new people coming in. They are not acclimated to the building, to the processes, to anything. They don't have relationships. So it takes time. And the ones that are there we have to then start teaching them. And somebody said to me that was running for Congress, and I said to this person, I have a problem with you running against my colleague and my friend. And she wanted to know, why are you so protective, you all? And I said, because we know who we have. We know exactly who we have. We know how they vote. They vote with us. We know that they will help us get to the majority. And so we have to be protective until we reach that point. And when we don't, then we find out. We have people that come in with Democratic coats on, and then we find out they're really Republican.
Let me ask you something. You said something, and today we lost a congressman. And I'm not gonna say the same way, but just about the same way that we lost Congressman John Lewis. So now we got to have a special election
That's right.
for that seat, is that correct?
That is correct.
And-
Because we did not have a primary yet, because with Congressman Lewis, the primary had taken place. So the Democratic caucus of Georgia, or the party of Georgia, had to then elect someone to sit in the seat until the actual election for the entire term had come.
And it's unfortunate, but you finna have everybody, grandmama, auntie, uncle, cousin, and nephew coming for that seat.
We call it a jungle election.
Yeah.
And when it's like that, we have.
So before we go into that, I'm praying that we don't put ego over the people. Do what's right by the seat and do what's right by the people. You gonna have folks trying to get in that seat, to get in Congress for a few days, to get a paycheck. And how many days you got to be in Congress before you get that paycheck?
I don't know, I'm not in Congress.
Okay, well,
They get paid way more than we do.
Well,
If it's monthly, then
Yeah.
we get paid monthly also.
I'm praying that we just pump our brakes. Let whoever gonna get it, let him get there first before we start fighting over seat. Representative Bazemore, you wanted to go down. Let's talk about, before we go, let's talk about this HOA deal. If you can tell about, because, I was HOA president, and some of the things that I heard about the bill, my thing is, did anybody come to the people, the HOA presidents, to talk about this bill? Because see, that bill, what I heard, is not good. It's gonna hurt the people in the long run. And by me being that HOA president, I know. So could you tell us about that bill?
So I heard both sides. I heard that the bill was good, some of the lobbyists are supporting it, and I heard some of the people are not. I've heard testimony from some individuals that did come on the Senate side. I don't know if there was, I did not hear that there were any hearings on the House side, because I believe it started out as a Senate bill. So that means it comes from there and it comes to us. As you know, I'm also the president of my HOA for years. And the reason why I still sit as the president is because nobody else wants to do it. And I refuse to live in a community that is run down and that has no guardrails. So the issue is, and I know people are concerned, there are bad actors. In my community, when I heard some of the things, I said, we don't do that in our community. We don't put liens on just because you didn't cut your grass, or you didn't paint your, or you didn't do this or do that. That does not make sense to me. That's going above and beyond what really needs to be done. I think if people would just have a conversation, we all want to live in a place that is well kept and that is attractive to individuals that will be coming in to purchase. And so that's the goal. But the problem is that already on the books, we are supposed to submit, you have to submit your covenant and your bylaws to the Secretary of State every year. You have to do that with the names of the individuals on the board.
Absolutely.
Some of what I've been hearing is that board members are not, the names are not submitted, they can't get in touch with these people. But if the Secretary of State's office will put more teeth into it, then when we have to submit it, because what's the sense of us submitting paperwork and then we don't have the backing of the Secretary of State to enforce? And that, therein lies the problem. There's no enforcement. And so that's what needs to happen. And enforcement needs to be there, because I had a situation where one of our residents, he just walked away from the house owing the HOA thousands of dollars. I mean, thousands of dollars. Because his attitude was, oh, all they can do is just put a lien on the house. They can't come after me for anything else. And then he walked away.
So in cases like that, as I can remember, if they walk away from the house and they owe 1,000, whoever buys that property, that bill follows that resident.
That's right.
You collect your money. Eventually, you just got to wait till the house sale to get your money.
But the problem with this one is somebody else was a signer on that house.
Oh.
So it was very complicated.
Okay, gotcha.
Yes, you're right.
So, when you have investors that is buying up all the houses and they live in across the water and they're waiting to sell those houses for mega dollars. Give you an example, and you can pick back off of me. Where I live, maybe in the next year, so a year and a half, they're gonna build the Riverwalk. And it's gonna go from one end all the way down to another end of the city. Investors know that. So with they coming in, they're buying up all these houses. Once you leave, and I tell anybody that live in the city of South Fulton, don't sell your house. Keep your house. Because once you leave, you can't get it. Am I right? Can't come back.
That's true.
They're waiting because they know what's coming down the pipe, because everybody's connected. And once that thing get built, they come in there and they sell that house that was probably $300,000. Now that house is
500, 600.
better yet. I'm gonna give you even better. I'm way in the millions, because we got houses right now where I live is sitting at almost $1 million. How can you guys under the Gold Dome hold these folks accountable?
I'm so glad you asked that question. I don't know if people remember that I sat on the study committee, housing study committee some years ago. And it just really blew me away to find out how we are allowing these investors to come from out of state too. What the message that I had gotten even before the study committee, that individuals on Wall Street were looking down here and specifically in our areas where we live, work, and play. And during that study committee, I was told that in my district alone, 60% of the houses were bought by investors. Wow, I was speechless. I was upset, because what I found out also is that they purchased these homes because if you or I wanted to purchase a home in my area or your area that is vacant or for sale, they come in, they have cash money. They have way more money and they give cash, and they can go much higher than we can go. So they purchase these homes in groups, and then they hold on to them for 5 years so that they can get their money back, their profits out of those homes. And then what they do is they put renters in.
Hmm.
So home ownership is not close anymore for people
Mm.
because the homes are being taken off the market. And so they are the ones also that are responsible for the prices going sky high. Not just people that want to buy, purchase, but those that are renting. So that's why we have this problem. And when I said something, I was only Democrat on that study committee.
Okay.
And I made a statement, and I said, we have to do something about this. We have to hinder them. One of my Republican colleagues said, well, we can't do that. You know, they're coming in, they're purchasing, you know, the economy and all. And so I gathered myself and I said, okay. I said, well, what I'm going to do then is when they want to purchase, I'm sending them to your neighborhood
Mm.
where you live.
Mm.
And I'm going to direct them there so they can buy all the houses there. So I'm saying that to say there are people down there that don't want to stop them. This gentleman, several of them that were on that study committee, they're either in lumber business, they're either in banking business, they're either in housing business, real estate. So you have the same type of people that are studying the issue of housing and are stopping any resolution or solution.
And what made me talk about this HOA deal, because when I was HOA for 13 years, I had people to approach me and ask me, especially when you guys go into session, Damita, I need you to go down there and advocate for us to pass this HOA deal. And my stand was no, because I knew if I went down there and advocated for them, what they were going to do to my community, your community. And it wasn't about looking out for us, it was looking out for the big boys down at the Gold Dome. And so that's why when I heard about this bill, I asked a question: why didn't somebody come and get some HOA presidents? Because what happened on this side might be different on the other side. You hear me?
Absolutely.
And I remember, and I'm gonna say, I remember when where you live at, I'm not for sure if it was your community, but it was some communities over in the area that didn't have HOA leadership. And they were looking for the leadership because people wanted to control the HOAs. And so I remember they called me and asked me would I come over to guide them. But when you fooling with, and I'm gonna say this, and she didn't say it, I said it. When you fooling with some Negroes, they gonna do it their way. And so finally, I just said, I can't help them because they're not listening. You have to listen. Do you agree with me, Debra?
I do agree with you, and one of the communities comes to mind that asked me, and so as you were HOA person, you said 13?
13 years.
So I have been, I have been the HOA president since 2006.
Okay.
And like I said, the only reason is because I'm not going to live anywhere where it's going to be destroyed and not resold, not divided in my home.
Absolutely.
So because of that, and because of being on the Old National Area Residents United president, before I even did this, there were several different people that there was one situation where they had an HOA, there was some controversy, and this person was supposed to be the president, and that one was, it was a lie. So I get calls to come, like you did.
Mhm.
Please come and help us. I actually left an event that night because they were having a meeting, it was critical, and they had their management company personnel who I happened to know. And I left there and I flew, I was driving, I'm sorry. I was driving kind of fast to get there to help. And I got there, and you're right. They were going back and forth, and some people were saying things. And so I finally said, you are asking the wrong questions. You are saying the wrong things. And I guided them through the meeting. And then they got done what they needed to get done. But sometimes, like I said, you either listen or you don't listen. And if you listen, it might work out better on your behalf. But if you don't, then you're still in chaos.
And do you I often tell people, when you get ready to buy a home in an HOA, make sure you understand your covenant and bylaws.
That's right.
Because when you're signing those agreements, you're signing that you understand.
That's right.
I tell people all the time, those covenants and bylaws in your CCRs are just like your Bible. You have to know them.
The contracts, and you have to abide by.
Yeah.
And before I purchased, because I moved down here in 05, and it was newly built, and I was the fourth person to purchase, but prior to me signing, they said, this is an HOA. I said, HOA? I don't know anything about HOA. What are you talking about? From where I thought, I did not. So they're like, well, the rules and regulations. I said, well, I can tell you this. Before I sign, you need to show me what I'm going to be responsible for, what I can and cannot do. They did not have it ready at the time. I said, well, I'll wait. The next day, they found me, and they brought those rules and regulations to me, the covenant and the bylaws.
And do you agree with me? Some people don't understand it's the difference between an HOA and a POA.
Yes.
A POA, they can take your property. A HOA cannot take your property. They can put a lien on your home, am I correct?
That's
if you don't pay your assessment.
That's right.
And that lien is on there until you pay the money. So let's I heard that in this contract, not contract, but the bill, that they put 4 years in there. And if people ain't paid their money in 4 years, they wipe it all out and they start over. Is that true?
I did not see that.
Okay.
So I can't attest to it.
Okay. Because if that's in there, I said I was going to call Senate Governor Kemp and tell him to veto that bill, and this is why. Because people that live in the HOA, they would say, okay, for 4 years, I don't pay my assessment.
Exactly.
And then they're going to wipe it out, and they're going to start over again.
Right.
Then the burden is on the backs of the people that's paying.
That's right. Exactly.
Do you
Exactly
agree with me?
right.
Do you agree with me? It don't matter if you got a pool or don't have a pool. You still have to pay your HOA dues because you have to do the upkeep.
That's right.
Do you agree?
I totally agree, because we don't have a whole lot of amenities. Our community is basically really for adults living. And then they were for those individuals that may have just gotten out of college or just gotten married and they don't have a family. So we don't have the amenities. However, we do have to upkeep. We provide landscape. We provide pest control. We have to pay for the lighting. We have to pay for the different things that you have to pay for, and that's why there's an assessment every month.
Okay. Tell the people what else happened down to that Dover Dome that we need to know about. Come on, you talk about it. Let's talk about it. So we close.
Well, you've heard the rumor that the governor may call us back into session.
I saw that on the news.
So I spoke to someone that happened to have a meeting last week. I spoke to someone that happened to have a meeting in his office that day. And he said to me, it's about 90%, we're about 90% sure you all are going back in session. Why are we going back in session? We're going back in session to address another election correction bill. I sit on governmental affairs. That is the committee that all of the election bills come through. And I'm gonna pause right now and say, I need each and every one of you. I know people work. I know you cannot get there all the time to committees, but you can watch it. You can watch it live. Georgia General Assembly, just Google it, and once that comes up, there's a wealth of information on it. We record things, so you can watch it that day, or you can go to archives and watch, because you need to be educated on what is going on and what they're changing, not when it's time for you to go to the ballot, because we have a packed house all the time, but they're not people that look like me that are concerned that you're taking away our voting rights on the weekends.
We only come down when we want to raise some cane,
When it's too late.
when it's too late.
I mean, it's available. Please show up or send letters, get on the phone, call, and you don't just call the people that are in that committee. Write the governor, write the lieutenant, write everybody, the speaker, all of the legislators. Flood our mailboxes. Let people know that you are not pleased with what they are doing to our elections process. So the bill that was passed
Okay.
had an expiration date or a date to have this change made by this year, which was to take the QR code off of the ballot. So, in years, every year, they're doing something. They decided that they are not allowing any outside agencies or individuals, organizations, give monies to any of the counties that put on the elections. You can only get the money from the states. So that means you are making changes. To take that QR code off the ballot, you have to order new paper. You have to make sure that the machines are running properly. You have to have those that are volunteering to work, that they understand. So you're talking about doing this by the November election.
It's all about that election, November election.
That is it.
It's all about that. Let's talk about this since you're on election. When they went in to the hub and took the ballots, do you think that was political?
It was definitely political. Definitely political. Why are we still talking about 2020 election? Why? Why, after you had 2 audits and you had hand counting 2, I believe, so every single time it was proven that the former president and the person sitting in the office now lost. Why? Why are we doing this? Why are you now also targeting 5 DAs that happen to be Black women to go after the elections again? Go after them because you want them to do what you want them to do and not what the law says do. When that was proposed, there was a substitute offered that, okay, so since you're going to do this, because we know they have the number, since you're going to do this, let's make all the counties, all the DAs and all the counties responsible.
It didn't happen.
159 counties. Oh, no. They said no. No, thank you. So then, why only 5 counties with 5 Black women DAs?
So majority, well, you just said,
That are Democratic counties.
you said, so let me say this, let me ask you this, because it was all on the news, and matter of fact, one of the candidates is running right now, put out that they went up to Washington, D.C. to get these ballots. We going up there to You can't go up there and get them ballots.
No. They're not in, I don't know whose custody they believe they're in. They're not in DC. But okay.
So now they have turned these ballots into a political thing against Democrats and Democrats. I call it distractions.
Most definitely.
Do you think when they went into the hub, and the hub ain't too far from my house, and I wasn't getting out of my bed to go over there to the mess. Everybody ran over there for what?
We were still in session.
Right.
And me being the vice chair of the Fulton County delegation, I have a responsibility to be there to vote against or for bills.
I didn't see you on the news either.
Not necessary. You don't see me on the news a lot because I am working. I don't have to be in front of the camera.
And I saw Democrats, they videoing, trying to get their 5 minutes of fame, and I thought it was just political politics, representative.
And the county is the one that has to take care of it.
Right. So now they're trying to flip this thing around, and I'm gonna call his name out because now they're trying to say that the commissioner chairman Pitts got the ballots, knew what was happening. That was a federal raid, correct?
That is correct.
When federal come in, don't nobody know they're coming in.
That's right. That's
They
right.
just come in, don't they?
And you can't stop it.
You can't stop them. We need to stop with the political tricks.
We need to stop fighting one another.
Absolutely.
And really recognize what the core issue is. It's not us. It's not you. It's not me. It's not my opponent. It is those that want us to fail and fall. And then, as we're distracted doing that,
They working. Put it in part. Why is it we as a group of people, especially elected officials, why we can't work together? I'm not saying that you don't have the right to run, but when you got 100 folks running for one seat and everybody Democrats, you dividing up the black votes. That's what they want us to do, aren't they?
it is a division. It is totally a division.
And while you fighting, they getting the plan together.
They get it together way before. Before we go into session every year, they've already met. There's an organization called C.E.E.L Up, and what that organization does with the Republicans, they will have them, they'll host them in different states, different areas, wine and dine them. They will give them verbiage on bills. That's why you see this state has dropped the bill, this state has dropped a similar bill, this state has dropped. That's because they're getting from this organization. They've already done the work, and they're just handing it to them to drop.
And we can't see that. I'm gonna go down. You deal with the budget. How do you feel about removing the property tax?
Thank you for asking that question, because everybody is happy. It seems a lot of people are happy. Not everybody. Oh wow, I'm gonna have more money in my pocket. Please do this. What you don't understand is that there is no way, and they have not explained, how are you going to replace that revenue? If that's not coming in, guess who's going to affect our children? Guess who's going to affect you? Because every time you go to purchase something, it's going to be astronomical tax on it. You're going to get tax. Because they have to replace the revenue. Because they have to provide services for everybody. You can't do that if the money's not there.
Right.
This was something that, and I can say the Republicans decided that they wanted to do because they have a leader that is causing so many problems for so many of their party members. that they have to figure out, how do we correct this? We need to tell people, we're gonna give you money back. You're not gonna have to pay this to the distraction, so that when the primary comes, you vote for me. We wanna stay in office. We wanna stay in power. That's all that is about.
Talk about property taxes and the elderly pays for the school taxes, and you're 75 and 80 years old, and you still paying for school taxes. Do you think it should be a limit? I'm 80 years old.
You are not 80.
I'm using that as an example. I'm 80. Okay, I tell you, I'm 63 years old. I'm 63. Feel good too. What happens when I get 70 and I still got to pay school taxes? Majority of my property taxes, well, just about all my property tax go to the school. But I don't have kids in the school. What you think about that?
So I agree with you, and each county, and each city can do local legislation to make sure that we take care of our seniors. And there can be a sliding cost, or we can just say, once you get to this age, you don't have to pay this much. Then when you get to that age, you don't have to pay. So this way, the individuals with the budget, they know, okay, so we have these many that are gonna be this age at this point, so we're gonna lose that revenue, so they can prepare. But all at one time, as it happened just recently to Fulton County, they told us that it's going to devastate their budget, that they were not prepared for a bill like that.
Well, what, you say it's gonna devastate the budget, and they just passed a bill to do that jail, renovate the jail for 1.2.
No, I'm talking about the schools.
School, okay,
The
school,
schools.
okay, oh, excuse me,
Yeah.
help me out. I think, okay.
But yes, not knowing, so they have to make adjustments. And so you talking teachers, you talking kids with books and laptops and different things like that, when they have to make adjustments like that, because then they lose that revenue. But if you do it gradually, then they already know.
Okay. You were with the South Fulton delegation, or the city, I'm gonna say the city.
It's the
City of South Fulton delegation.
So I am the chair,
Okay.
and I was the person that created
Okay.
the delegation.
Well, we're gonna talk about it a little bit, because I know folks wanna know, talk about it.
Okay.
How do you feel about the P cards and all the scandals of the P card? Don't hold it to her, she's running, hold it to me, y'all call me now, y'all call me. How do you feel about it?
Well, I think whoever is listening, they may have already heard when we talked about the cap a while ago, and I had issue with it. At this point, I do believe that, first of all, let me answer your question. I don't believe, and I've talked to several people, GMA, I've talked to ACCG, I've talked to so many different people. I don't just make a decision or come to a conclusion just because it's me. And then I talk to the constituents. And my problem with that is that people would be and have been allowed to use P cards without having permission, and using them illegally, because if it's illegal, it's against whatever rules and regulations are in place. So I believe that there should be a process where you don't have cards, but if you need to book a hotel because you all going somewhere, conference or whatever, then you should be able to give that information to one of the departments, and then they make your reservations and they allot for whatever the money is. I don't think that having free reign to a card, because it's like us, we have a credit card, some of us, you know.
You find yourself just.
Exactly. Oh, I like those shoes. Oh, that dress. Oh, I need that coat. And what about that bag? And then by the time you spend, you look back and you go, I have spent all of my month's reserve, all of my month's budget.
Okay, stop, I want you to talk about that budget. Since you said the budget, it's out there right now that whoever comes in to the seat of District 3, that they only have about 5,000 to 7,000 left in the budget because the council person spent all the money. If you see anyone that does that, do you think they care about the people?
That is very concerning. And the money started, the amount started at the beginning of the year at what?
I don't know what it's, $60-some thousand. So you, February, March, and you in April, and you only have $5,000, between $5,000 and $7,000 in a budget. It's out there. It was in the manager report. How can we stop this from happening? Because it happened before in another district where the council person didn't want to leave this person the money, so they went out and spent all the money. We have to have some guidelines for that. So now whoever gets in that seat in May, they're going to have to do a special budget for that council person when it shouldn't have took place. Now, you didn't say this, I'm going to say this. I believe anybody that's down at the city hall, they either go for the city manager, whoever taking care of the money down there, that should have been caught. That shouldn't have been said, oh, I didn't know it happened. If you're doing your checks and balance, you should know. Do you agree with me?
I do agree.
If I got $1,000 in my checking account and I didn't went and spent everything, and then I'm in the hole, I'm not balancing my book. I'm not watching. Do you agree with me?
I do agree. And you asked me, how can we control this? Constituents. Because constituents vote for you. Constituents are your boss. And I say this all the time. People think that we as legislators down at that Capitol have bosses. They think the governor's our boss, lieutenant governor, and the speaker. Not so. Every single person in our districts, those are our bosses, constituents. You can say whether I stay or whether I leave. You can come out and speak out against what I might be doing wrong or what I might be doing right. And so as far as this goes, I believe when constituents speak, they have to speak loud and make sure they have their requests tight and short and presented and say, this is what we want to see because those are my tax dollars.
Right. The seat belongs to the people. Do you agree with me?
Exactly right.
What happens in a case? Let's go, because see, I can be here, your time won't be winding. Let's say this. Tell us what the delegations, the city of South Fulton delegation do.
Okay.
Explain that.
Okay. So when we are down at the Capitol, we have local legislation. It's supposed to be local legislation, okay? And if anybody has, and I don't mean just us, if we come up with something that we know that the city needs, then we can create a piece of legislation. And if you create a piece of legislation, this is how I operate. Every single person in that delegation, Senate and House, they get a copy of the legislation that you want to present, Every single person needs to know because every single person in the delegation has to vote. And then you can come to the meetings that we have and you can explain, we can have a discussion about it, and then we can move it forward. But you need, I believe now that we have 9 people, we didn't always have 9 people that represented the city and the House. We have 9, so we need 6 signatures to move it forward. And over in the House there, the Senate, there are 4. So we need those signatures before we can even introduce the bill on the floor of the House. And so even if all of us are not on one accord, but the majority is, we can still get it passed. We can get from the mayor. And that's what happens every year. I send a letter to the city manager, because city manager runs the city. And I say, please provide us with those pieces of legislation, priority legislation that you would like us to work on next year. We try to start that in September, October, and then they will send it back. Once they send it back, I will convene a meeting with the delegation, and I will make sure that each person sees what is being asked. We will have the discussion, and then we'll decide who wants to be the sponsor of which one of those items.
Okay.
And if nobody does, for whatever reason, all of that is explained and sent back in a letter to the city manager. And then we go to work in January.
Okay. Look, we won't go over it. Let's go on and you speak into the camera why they should vote for you and the platform, and then we're gonna close it out for the senator coming in.
So, education, and I mean education of the issues, education of the processes, and experience matters. Experience matters. It doesn't happen just by mistake. There is perseverance that goes in that. There is hard work. There is dedication and loyalty. And that's what I've been doing for the last 10 years, is putting that in. And communication, listening to my constituents, helping my communities move the needle forward, bringing positive companies, supporting, just being there and being on that floor of the House and understanding those bills that come before us and in our committees, which way we need to vote, either vote yes or vote no. And that's based on conversations that I have with my constituents, with my mayors, which I have 3 of, Union City, City of South Fulton, and Fayetteville. And I have an open door policy with them. We have conversations on a regular basis. And what I do like is that we will meet when there's a crisis. All of us will come together, especially, this is what happened starting in Fayetteville. The mayor, the city manager, the county commissioner, the other legislators, and community leaders. We will meet in a room and have a conversation about something that is happening that's critical. We will brainstorm, and when we leave, we are on one accord, and we are all saying the same thing and going in the same direction. And that's what I like about the people that I represent. And we have to keep doing that. I think we talked about that earlier. Let's keep doing that, because it's not just about Debra Bazemore. My title says representative. That means I represent you. I don't represent me. Sometimes I may not like the fact that people want me to vote yay for something or nay for something, but that's my job, to do what you asked me to do and not what I want to do. And let's, again, reason together and get the job done.
All right, thank you, Representative Bazemore.
Can I say?
Give your website.
Thank you. You can go to my website. It is DebraBazemore69.org. It's all together.
Thank you. Thank you. Early voting starts Monday, this Monday coming, the 27th. So make sure you cast your vote. I'm not telling you who to vote for, but cast your vote. I'm gonna leave this with you. Know before you go. Know who's on your ballot. Know what's on your ballot. Know when to vote. Just know before you go. I want to thank Representative Bazemore for coming and giving out the information. Could have spent a few more, but we got to get out of here to get to the next thing. Again, we want you to keep, and what I'm going to do, since we got 3 more, we're going to close out prayer for the congressman at the last go round. We'll have the pastor say a prayer for him. Please keep him and his family and his staff, and most of all, the state of Georgia and his colleagues in your prayers, because this is devastating. So I'm going to let her go because I know she got to digest this. So again, thank you guys.